But I find it appalling and reprehensible that we have grown adults telling 10, 11, 12-year-old girls what they should be doing with their bodies. This is how we impart shame on women about their bodies, and it's of course sexist.
Whoa, Caroline, hold on. Since you were a college professor, I believe, I'm going to hold you just to some standard of logic here. You can't tell an 11 or 10-year-old girl what to wear under any circumstances. That's controlling them. When do 8-year-olds or 10-year-olds get to control their own bodies anyway? They're
don't
children.
set up a straw. No, don't. I mean, sorry, Tucker. Don't set.
Hey, they're able to protest as they did today. They protested today peacefully at Villanova before they were attacked.
Nobody takes you seriously. I'm trying to take you seriously. You're accusing this guy of racial demagoguery, and you called for white genocide. You also applauded the Haitian Revolution for killing whites. Look, those are your views. I'm not saying you shouldn't be allowed to express them. I'm merely pointing out the irony that you're trafficking in race hatred, and yet saying that Charles Murray shouldn't be allowed to speak because he traffics in race hatred. Are you self-aware enough to catch that? Now, that's a sentence with too many adjectives, a passive construction, imprecise language. It's high school writing. It's crap. And I'm wondering, is your scholarship serious?
I really appreciate you digging into the vaults. I appreciate you digging into the vaults to actually closely read some of my
You're not an impressive scholar.
Really
that's what I'm saying. You're a performance artist. That's not impressive. You're not capable of writing a clear sentence. Now, I went through a lot of different essays that you wrote, and I've got an IQ above room temperature, and I couldn't understand any of them because your writing is childlike. It's childlike. Hang on. Either you don't really know what you're saying because you don't understand it yourself, or you're trying to hide it from the person for whom you're writing. And neither one is impressive. And I guess my point is, the only writing I have read by you that I can understand clearly are your tweets. And they seem to be designed to shock people, to get attention. It seems, again, a species of performance art, not scholarship. I keep reading these stories about people breaking down on college campuses, and I try to put myself in your position as a professor. So you have a kid come into your class crying about the election. As the adult, shouldn't you say, you know, it was just an election, and it was democratic, and nobody got cancer, and nobody died, and maybe you should toughen up a little? Why wouldn't you say something like that? Being 1/32nd of some racial group is not a qualification, okay? It's an accident of history. It's something over which you had no control, and for which, in a just society, you would not be rewarded. And so this is an amusing story. Obviously, her campaign's blowing up over this. She's lying. Her remark about, all Indians have high cheekbones. You know, I also like feathers. I mean, it's so offensive and dumb. But leaving that aside, it provide a window into a system that is fundamentally corrupt, that rewards people based on their DNA, which is inherently unfair. It was unfair when it happened under segregation, and it's unfair now. Indeed, it's indefensible. And that's why she doesn't want to talk about this, because she did gain material advantage by lying about her ethnic background. You know, Harvard bragged about the fact that she was, quote, a minority professor. She's in no sense a minority. She didn't grow up speaking an Indian language on a reservation, immersed in Indian culture. She couldn't name the tribe that her so-called ancestor was a member of when first asked. She's not American Indian. She posed as one, and Harvard, by its own admission, gives advantage to people who claim to be minorities.
More screening coming from our country, it makes it a safer
So it makes this country safer to import Syrian refugees. That's what you're saying?
Well, when they're screened multiple times.
But it makes it safer than it is without them? So it's good for Germany, which destroyed its country by opening the borders. I get that. It's good for tons of other countries. I totally get that. But American taxpayers have got to be expected to care about their own country first, shouldn't they? So the black youth unemployment rate is like the highest in my lifetime. So you would say to them, sorry, it's going to a Syrian refugee.
I think you're jumping from one extreme to another, Tucker.
Seems related.
And that there's actually a greater threat of terrorism from white supremacist groups and right-wing extremists than there are from individuals who self-identify as Muslim.
Well, that's just not true. Actually, no, it's not. There haven't been 100 Americans killed in the last 8 years, 350 wounded from right-wing extremists in the United States. That's not true. When you say that the journalists who walk in the front door of the Times building are doing their best to be fair, I would believe you, except I know for a fact that's not true because I read their Twitter feed. If I was the New York Times and my editors were tweeting crap like that, I would say, you stop that right now, I'm firing you. Why don't they do that?
I don't know.
If you're against racism and racial discrimination, why are you explicitly supporting a system that penalizes people for the color of their skin, which you are? How can you say you're against racism and still penalize people because they're the wrong race?
Regularly and not be blinded by the fact that she looks like she smells like vanilla.
Okay, she looks like she smells like vanilla. I mean, who's objectifying women here? Okay, but you said that she's she has sinister complicity in aiding the most.
Yes, I absolutely believe that.
Okay,
I'm not backing down from that at all.
So it's sinister for a daughter to support her father's presidential campaign because you don't like her father?
Which is still available on his website.
How does that threaten the sovereignty of religion? That's moronic, Lauren. You're a writer. How does that threaten the sovereignty of it? Pardon me for taking your words literally.
Sorry. So did you read the entire article?
Psychological. I did. I also read Liam Payne is 100% certain One Direction will continue. Adriana Grande rocked the most epic thigh-high boots at Jingle Bell, and Black China and Rob Kardashian went through the messiest breakup of 2016. Those are your other pieces. But I'm trying to get to what you're writing about Trump taking a break from the thigh-high boots and ask what you mean about him committing psychological abuse on you.
To a political conversation.
Dumb propaganda.
And you can't be, enjoy Kylie Jenner's Instagram and worry about the future of this country.
All right, I got to go. You should stick to the thigh-high boots. You're better at that. Lauren, thanks for joining us.
Right? So that you have to go quite some distance to get a firearm. You just can't go.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Because like everyone I know in New York has a weekend home in Vermont. Look, the point is, this stuff doesn't work, and it doesn't work.
I think more people dead.
But okay, so in Chicago, there's 762 murders last year. How many were committed with so-called assault weapons?
Right, but you know what? That's a small issue.
Well, what's the answer?
Well, I don't know.
But you run a gun control group. I mean, and you're pushing for right here, semi-automatic military-style firearms designed for one person to kill people. Right. So we have the city with one of the highest murder rates in the country. Right. And how many were committed with assault weapons?
Yeah, no problem, Tucker.
So this is a sham. Your company isn't real. Your website is fake. The claims you have made are lies. That's a lie, and you know it's a lie. And we asked you for ID at the Los Angeles Bureau, and you said you didn't have ID with you. But doubtless you have a wallet on you. Every grown man does. Hold up a credit card. You can cover the number to our camera and show us any piece of documentation with the name Dominic Talipso on it. And you can't because that's not your real name. Well, I'm vetting you right now, and I'm beginning by saying you are not legitimate. You are lying. We know that. You have fooled other news organizations. You did not fool us. And my question is, why are you doing it?
We are greatly, greatly supportive of national treasures such as Julian Assange, Edward Snowden, Peyton Manning. I don't know it.
Really? So you're pretty supportive of Peyton Manning, are you?
Extremely, yeah.
Okay. Documents. All right. Well, give my best to Peyton Manning and also to Mrs. Talipo, if you would. Thanks a lot for joining us, Dom. Whoever you are. I can't believe it.
Mayor, this is a states' rights, a city rights issue. The police
so you're a states' rights guy now.
A mayor.
I knew this was going to wind up in a crazy place. Did you just invoke states' rights?
Now you've changed your position. You want the federal government.
Is crazy. You're using the language of politics. Look, you're not a scientist, as you know. You're a popularizer.
That's how
so
the
much
world
of this
would be
you
different
don't
if it
know.
weren't for humans.
You pretend that you know, but you don't know.
So let me give you the answer.
This is a little nutty. I got to be honest. I'm asking you a very crisp question.
Earlier.
Okay.
So
I think that you're humiliating yourself by your unwillingness to answer a simple question. How can Newsweek employ you as a reporter, Kurt, when you're throwing lines like this around that are untrue, that you can't substantiate when you say to the president's spokesman, F you, that's not the behavior of a reporter. I would have real concerns if I were one of your editors, and I mean that. I'm not calling anyone a liar, but I am saying I'm concerned about your behavior on this show tonight.
I want to know, with all of the black-on-black violence in the United States of America, by the way, when the tragedies happened in Louisiana and Minnesota, you know that 21 black people were murdered across the United States? Was there any reporting on that?
There was a black officer who was killed today. But
was there any reporting on that?
Sheriff, please, let's just keep the volume down here. So I understand, and listen, I'm
looking at 3 dead cops this week, Sheriff, and I'm looking at 5 last year. You trying to tell me to keep it down?
Just please, if you'll just please, we can keep it civil. So, because the message to people at home, I'm sure you want, is one of civility.
I wish, Don, I wish you had that message of civility
to have a conversation
toward this hateful ideology, these purveyors of hate.
You don't know what my message is.
That's
what I want
they
to say
do.
to you is,
these people preach vile and virtue
we'll be right
in the
back.
name
We're
of
going to go to break.
hate.
I don't know right now, as someone who's in law enforcement, if that was the actual cause of it. Go ahead.
Let me ask you this. Do we know that generally the American law enforcement officers are racist? Do we know this?
Go on.
I asked a question.
Do I know American general law enforcement are racist? I don't think anyone is accusing. If you're insinuating that people are accusing or saying that law enforcement across this country as a whole are racist, then your assumption is wrong.
First of all, this whole
no. The president spoke about it. Cedric Alexander, who is a law enforcement officer. The president has been lying about it. He's condemned the anti-police rhetoric coming from this hateful ideology. As a journalist sitting here on television, I don't have to condemn anyone, anything. That is something that you should ask other people around the country.
I condemn
their jobs to condemn
just like I condemn the hateful ideology out of groups like the KKK. All right? I condemn it. There is no place in American discourse for that sort of vile, vitriolic hate coming out of this ideology. This has fueled and fanned the flames of this anger toward the American police officer. There's only one group in America, one time, that truly cares about the lives of black people in these urban ghettos. And it's the American police officer who goes down there on a daily basis, puts their life on the line to protect who? Black people. So when you say we just want to have a conversation, let's have a conversation about the black-on-black crime, which kills more black males, which is more of a threat to any black male in the United States than a law enforcement officer.
Sure.
Fine. That's going to mean more arrests. That's going to mean more people going to prison. This stuff has already been debunked.
Sure. That's a different conversation.
Every time you don't have a response to something I say, you say it's a different conversation.
I don't have a response to you.
But you said he's not an anti-Semite. Is he a white nationalist? My question, a white nationalist, a misogynist, or even bigoted in any way that you know of?
Not at all. Steve Bannon does not have a bone of prejudice in his body. And in fact, Steve Bannon went out of his way at Breitbart to look for talent among non-traditional conservatives, just like Andrew Breitbart had championed the cause of black conservatives, Latino conservatives, women conservatives. Steve Bannon did the same thing, and he brought people on board. You know, I see Kurt there on television. He's an Asian American conservative. Here we are, an Asian American conservative, an Orthodox Jewish conservative, both of whom worked for Steve Bannon. And the question is whether he's a white nationalist. I think not.
Well, then why traffic in that if he's not? Is that even more insidious if he's not, but then he traffics in it?
Can you name for me, Don, one white nationalist article at Breitbart? Just one. I saw that whole build-up segment. I didn't see a single white nationalist article. Not one.
But to imply that anyone can walk out and buy an automatic weapon is just not true, Don.
What do you mean anyone can't? Well, listen, during the theater shooting in Colorado, I was able to go and buy an automatic weapon, and I, maybe have shot a gun 3-4 times in my life. I don't even live in Colorado. I think most people can go out and buy an automatic weapon.
Don, what is your definition of an automatic weapon? What is your definition of an automatic weapon?
Well, for me, an automatic weapon is something that you can shoot off a number of rounds very quickly. I was able to buy an AR-15 within 20 minutes in a state of which that I'm not a.
And you don't know, in all due respect, you don't know what you're talking about. An automatic weapon is when you pull the trigger one time and it continually shoots off. One after another after another. A semi-automatic weapon.
I can do that with my AR-15. You're getting into semantics here, because
it's not semantics.
Hang on, Ben. Let me finish.
One is semi-automatic.
It's a big deal. It's the difference between breaking the law and not breaking the law.